Well, we're hooked up on our first fish. It's a good way to start the video. I just dropped this down to put a planer board on it, and my other planer board got hung up, so I was trying to get it untangled and this one went down. I'm okay with that. See what we got. It's a white cat or a channel cat, one of the two. All right, skunk is off the boat fairly early this morning. All right, what we got here is just a decent channel cat. First fish of the day. Not a bad one. I'll take that for the first fish. We're out here trolling for catfish today. I'm going to teach you today how I troll for catfish, so stay tuned. I'm going to let this guy go. See ya. Alright, here's the basic setup for a trolling rig or drifting rig, dragging rig. I'm running 80-pound braided line, and I chose canine braid. It's called cat line. It's really strong, and the reason I run braid when I'm dragging baits or when I'm trolling for catfish is that whenever you get a snag or a planer board hung up, you can pop off your line when you have mono, and if you pop it in the wrong place, if you have a weak point in your line, or you know, you've caught a fish on it, it'll leave a lot of monofilament in the water, and that just hurts my conscience, leaving 50 to 100 200 yards of line in the water. So with this 80-pound braided line, I'm able to still run a 60-pound leader, and that ensures me that if I have to break off, that this leader is going to break before this main line is going to break. Now off of that, I have a 3-way bumping swivel with a clip, and then I have a dragging weight. This particular dragging weight is from Santee drifters. It's, I think, 1.5 or 2 ounces, and basically this is designed to drag across the bottom and go up over debris and structure. And so if you'll see here, this weight will drag on the bottom, and this float here will suspend my baits up off the bottom so that they don't get hung up in all the debris and everything that could be on the bottom. Now, I told you I use a 60-pound monofilament leader, and that just personal preference, but I don't want my leader to be heavier than my main line for reasons I've already explained. I choose to run Demon Dragons. This is the Borderline Catfishing Edition. They have all kinds of different colors and sizes, and here soon they're going to be coming out with an even bigger size to float bigger baits. So I can't wait to see those come out. Oh, we had a snag there for a second. Basically, off this leader line, this is what's called a Santee Cooper drift rig. It was invented by Casey Nelms, and you have about 36 inches of leader, the weight that I talked about earlier, a float, and a hook. And you can use a peg float, you can use a peg float with rattles on it, or you can just get you a Demon Dragon, which floats and rattles at the same time. For the hook, I've chosen a Nocturnal Nation 10-aught Eclipse circle hook. I like these hooks because they have a little bit of shrink wrap on the shank, which helps hold your knot better. They're super sharp, they're offset, as you can see, and they really do a good job of hooking that fish. Sometimes it's even hard to get them out because the hooks them so good. And I'll put my bait on. Right now I'm fishing with chicken, but I do intend to catch some perch for some fresh bait straight out of the lake. So we're gonna get back to it. I think we gotta check this planer board and make sure that we're still all good. I'm gonna get this one rigged up and back out there. That's a fish. Got a fish on, guys. He's way out there. That's okay though. He's on the top of the water. He's made my planer board slide. We haven't talked about planer boards yet, but we will. This one's a little bit bigger than the last one, not much though. I know the bend in the rod is kind of deceiving, but I am dragging a planer board sideways as well as bringing in this catfish. I was just about to move spots when I saw the planer board doing crazy stuff out there, and I looked over to my left right above this camera and saw that rod bent over. And I think it's really important to have a fast action light tip on your rod. That's why I fish with these medium rods, medium action rods on the water when I'm pulling baits. Pulling baits is just another term for trolling. Out here on Santee Cooper, we call it drifting, you call it trolling, you can call it dragging. And basically, they mean pretty much the same thing. What determines if you're trolling for catfish is if you're under any kind of power. So if you're using your trolling motor, or if you're using your big engine to propel yourself forward or backwards, that's called trolling. You can also call that dragging because you're exerting force to move water out of the way to propel yourself forward, which in turn pulls your baits. Now drifting, on the other hand, is when you're completely under the power of the wind or current, depending on what type of system you're in. I'm gonna have to go over the top of this other planer board here. Hopefully he doesn't get all messed up in that one. That would be great if he didn't. Go ahead and move this over. But basically, that's the only difference. Trolling means that you're under power. You're using a trolling motor or a big engine or some kind of propulsion device to pull your vessel along. And drifting is basically what it sounds like. You're under the influence of the wind and the current, and wherever it goes, you go. A nice little blue cat. I don't know how well he's hooked. I'll go ahead and get the net, that way I don't risk you guys not seeing the fish. Hang tight. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and net that planer board and everything. Get it all in one scoop. Bring them on into the safety of the boat here. Don't have as much room in the back of the boat as I do in the front. Those of you who have watched the channel before have seen me do this same type of fishing. A lot of people don't have pontoon boats. So I figured today, if I'm trying to show you how to troll for catfish, that I would show you out the back of the boat, which is what people traditionally do. There's the planer board. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. And get my fish grippers here. And it's interesting, this hook did not pierce the fish. This hook is lodged inside of this fish's mouth. It might have got a little skin in there. Ooh, he bit down on me pretty good. Might have got a little skin hooked in there. Ooh, that's why I netted him right there. All right, y'all, here's fish number 2 for the day. It's a female catfish. You can tell by the mouth how it's smaller, but it's a healthy one. She's been eating. I can feel the mussel shells in her belly. I can feel them rolling around, which is why we're drifting this area. This is a mussel bed, and these fish like this are going to be feeding on that mussel bed. So that's why I chose to fish over here. If you have mussel beds this time of year, it's June, late June. If you fish those mussel beds in late June, you'll find a lot of quality catfish like this. And I'm letting them go right now because I fish a lot and I can keep fish whenever I want to. So if ever I get hungry for a fish, I'll come out here and catch one or two and I'll fry them up that night. Why I don't keep too many fish, again, I fish a lot, but I also want to conserve these fish so the younger generations can catch them and that I can catch this one again when she gets up to 50 or 60 pounds. So I'm going to let them go whenever I have the opportunity. And whenever I get a hankering for some catfish, I know where they live. All right, let me get this one back. All right, see you later, old girl. Straight down she goes. Right here is the perfect example of what I was talking about, why I run an 80-pound braided line, because the monofilament broke and I didn't lose any line in the water other than that little bit of monofilament. Now I did lose my weight and my hook and my demon dragon, but at least I didn't lose 100 or 200 yards of line, which can impact the birds and other wildlife around here. So I feel better about losing a little bit of tackle, which could rust and go away over time, and a little bit of monofilament instead of a whole ton. Now here's an example of a float rig. Still a Santee Cooper rig. I'm going to put a weight on that snap right there. But this one has a peg float instead of a demon dragon. Now it doesn't have any rattles on it, but this was sent to me by Wildcat Rigs. You can find them on Facebook, but he basically crimps his hooks on instead of tying them on. And he crimps the whole thing, the leader and everything, and he just puts a float right there. Heavy leader, but still I have that heavy braid to offset that, and he uses a circle hook as well. Check him out, Wildcat Rigs on Facebook. All right, we're hooked up. It's been a long time since our last fish. We just moved spots for the third time, trying to target some fish. This one's going to be a really tiny one. But it's a fish nonetheless. We're coming up on an underwater island right now. And so this one hit right on the edge of that island as we're coming up it. See some other rods getting bites too, probably from the same type of fish. Like a little channel cat. That's exactly what he is. Whoop, threw off that chicken. Third fish of the day is a little channel cat. I've been trying to fish for perch. I've actually been fishing for perch since we've started today, but I haven't found the first one. So we got chicken and some old mullet. So here you go. Them little ones will hurt you now. There we go. Just a little channel cat, about 1.5 pounds. Another good eater size fish if you were gonna eat him. But we're gonna let him go before he stabs me to death. All right, buddy, get out of here. There you go. I hate to drop him, but he kind of did that on his own. Let's talk about planer boards real quick. The planer boards I use are called Uncle Lou's planer boards from Uncle Lou's Tackle. He has a Facebook tackle shop, which you can find the link to that in the description. A planer board is simply, well, the ones I have are a piece of metal cut into a disc. And it's more rectangular than disc shaped, but it has a float on top, like a piece of foam. On that disc, there's a peg that goes in the side, and that peg has a clip on it. You clip that peg to your line, and then there's another clip on the back in case the peg comes loose. planer board won't slip off your line. But basically, the purpose of a planer board is to swim your baits out farther from your boat so that you're covering a lot more area when you're trolling for catfish. A lot of people use them for striper as well. There's also crappie or crappie planer boards, however you say it. You can also use planer boards to suspend baits. If you see catfish or fish in general suspended in the water column, you can suspend bait so that your bait doesn't float all the way to the bottom. Now today I have 4 planer boards. I'm running 2 on the left side and 2 on the right side. The second way a planer board can help you is if you're drifting or dragging or trolling shallow. We're about to come up into a section that the depth drops from 12 feet where we're at now down to all the way to 2 feet. And whenever your boat goes across shallow water like that, you're going to spook the fish. So look at it as your boat is displacing the fish to the sides of your boat out in the water column. So when you have planer boards out there, you have a higher likelihood of catching those fish because your baits are further away from the boat. I also have 2 rods going straight back. That last fish and the first fish were caught on the rods without planer boards. And those rods are called long lines. If you're using long lines, you want to put as much line out as you feel comfortable with, because like before, if you're drifting shallow or trolling shallow, you're going to displace those fish. And if you have a long line, after your boat is passed through, those fish are likely to come back into that feeding zone. And then by the time they get back, your long lines are catching up. So hopefully that will hook you up. Hadn't even got my GoPros back running. And this guy slammed this medium rod down. He's swimming right towards the boat. Nicest fish of the day. Seems to be hooked very loosely, which is just my luck. Well, if he comes off of there, guys, you saw a little bit of him. I'm gonna go try to grab the net. All right, we got him. All right. And then, look, the hook came right out of his mouth. Whoo! The Lord was looking out for us on that one, wasn't he? Oh. There we go. All right, looks like this guy has been hooked before. Right there on his lip. You can see he's got a chunk of his lip taken out. But either that fell off during the fight or they took the hook out of him and released him. Either way, it's a good eater size fish, chunky, a little bit bigger than the second fish of the day, not much. But again, you don't have to run planer boards. This was not caught on a planer board. I actually don't have any running right now. So if you can't afford planer boards right now, or you're not in a position where you want to try to take on the daunting task of learning how to use planer boards, you can catch them straight on the troll just like this. All right, we're gonna let him go. See you later. It's also very important, especially if you want to be able to control your speed a lot better, to have a nice quality drift sock. This drift sock is made by Easterland Drift Socks. And it's hand sewn, it's local, which is why I like it. But it has a float in the top, as you can see, and it has a weight in the bottom to keep the sock upright in the correct position. The sock is 10 feet wide. I have 2 of these. The other one's down here. So when I get extremely windy conditions, I'll put both of them out to slow the boat down. But what it is it's a big fabric funnel that the water goes into at one end, which is really wide, and then a smaller end at the other side, so that it essentially slows down your pace. And even if there's not wind happening, if you're trolling, which again, trolling is using power to push yourself forward. You're going to want something in the back, like a drift sock, to give you a little bit of control over that drift so you don't go too fast. Even on the lowest setting of my trolling motor, in smooth water on this boat, it'll go over 0.5 miles an hour. So I need that drift sock out the back. Now I wouldn't necessarily need a 10-footer, but I also have a 4-foot drift sock as well. Just to show you how shallow we're drifting, my drift sock has just caught on a stump. So I'm gonna have to go back and try to get it off of here. Oh, there we go. Believe it or not, that has actually happened to me before in the same area. So have I learned my lesson? Obviously not. Well, that's going to do it for this video, folks. I hope you enjoyed the video. I wish the fish would have cooperated a little more for us, but I hope you enjoyed this video on trolling for catfish. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment. Remember, all the gear that I used today is in the description of this video. So if you want to go there and pick something up, go over there and check it out. There's even some discount codes that'll save you some money. Well, you know the drill. Till next time, y'all. Happy fishing.